Howdy Heroes Heart, this is Kyle Fergusson. Today I'm sitting down with Lupus of Wildheart Omega. This is versus Anti-Clown Association from Storm Division, a Game 1 first pick, Tank Uther. Very excited for it. Thank you for joining me, Lupus.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I love Uther. I'm sad that we don't see him too much anymore, but this is such a cool looking comp with Chen and Kerrigan, and the enemy team just looks so boring in comparison.
Yeah, it was a pretty good anti-strat by our coach on Wildheart Omega. He's the coach for the academy team. He does a lot of draft help for us. So this was kind of a specific draft for Anti-Clown Association.
Okay, so what immediately made it an anti-draft? If I were to look at this, why would it be anti the enemy team?
Well, Anti-Clown Association really likes to play, they really like their hoggers and their multiple bruisers. So if we go stuff like Uther Mephisto, which Mephisto in his own right is incredibly strong against multiple bruisers like that.
Oh, sure. The chunky get the hits in the resets area.
Yeah. So he just kind of melts them all down. And then as long as we can do things to kind of keep him up and let him keep pumping out the damage, they will never be able to fight us.
So I've heard some things about Mephisto and armor, and basically that his effective health is actually pretty high. And that's why sometimes they do armor talents, but in particular you've got Uther here. So Mephisto can basically go in, go out without much trouble then.
Yeah, he shouldn't have too hard of a time this game. My Uther pick here is more to enable Reb than the Mephisto, but being able to save the Mephisto is never a bad thing.
So Mephisto just kind of doing their own thing. You're there to make sure the Kerrigan actually happens.
Yeah, and we'll see that later on. We do get some pretty good Uther Kerrigan value in this game.
Is the Kerrigan ever... you mentioned kind of the bruiser line, and that's what Mephisto is for. Are you guys even thinking about getting the more squishy Sylvanas or Falstad? Or is it all just Diablo, Hogger, we're going to kill them first, front to back?
I think we do a lot of front to back this game in particular. Just because we know that we have the capability to do so, but if we catch a backliner, we're not going to say no to it, you know?
Absolutely, and they'll go down rather fast with what you're given. It's cool seeing Stukov just immediately, almost blindly follow up any stun that you're going to make, no matter who it is. Diablo's doing a great job popping their soul shield as soon as it gets going, but... Yeah,
Caesar's doing a lot of really good stuff this game to get in the way.
Is low blow the official go-to now? I'm seeing it everywhere.
I have also been seeing it everywhere. I think it's really good, especially in games like this, where you can keep people in that puddle for a long time. Because we have, by the time I get around 16, we have like 3 stuns, plus I think Nintori ends up going to the root on Stukov this game, so lots of low blow value.
The reliable right-click value of Uther getting the stun into the Kerrigan, into the silence. It's a brutal pile of CC.
Yeah.
So you've went here with kind of a, well, Holy Light build. Is this, from the level 1, planned out to be a Holy Shock kind of business? Or would you ever take level 1 and not go Holy Shock?
I think the alternative to Holy Shock would be the move speed on the hammer at level 4. And that's if you can... if the movement speed to get away is really helpful, because you can walk up, stun, and then save yourself. There's some low blow value right there.
Yeah.
And the Holy Shock is just nice, because whenever you Holy Shock, you still get that 15 armor on yourself. It's not as nice, and it does heal you, so... It's not as nice as when it used to be 25 armor all the time, but it's still pretty good. And you never know, you might have to finish a kill with it. I know for sure I do finish a kill with it. I think it might have been that Hogger right there that I finished off with the Holy Shock. Can't remember, but I definitely get 1 kill at least with Holy Shock this game.
Holy Shock's just so much fun, but I love just adding in more right-click value and into squishies like Falstad. I remember doing it into Genji in the past. It's just it's a pretty good amount of damage. It's just delightful to use.
Yeah, another pretty impactful part of it is once you get that range with the level 1, it's super good for dismounting the other team's tank so that they can never step up to you the way they want to.
Okay, so doing
so you can just, yeah, because once you finish the quest, it's probably like, I'd say 3/4 of your screen is probably Q range. So you can get those dismounts from really far away, and they can't really do anything about it because it's just point and click.
And we see you doing a lot of anchoring here, a lot of tank jobs outside of just being a double support in that way. So that's a really cool idea to keep people dismounted, ruin their rotations, and keep that edge you guys have built up. Do you feel like the Uther nerf for him going down to 15 armor was the right move, or is there something more that needs to be done, or was it in the wrong direction?
I think that it's kind of just a shift in power of other heroes that exist that have kind of pushed Uther to the side a little bit. There's a lot of like anti-healing and stuff like that in the game, and just the prevalence of straight up team fight comps is not as high as it used to be. So double support, such as, which I think Tank Uther would generally qualify as double support, would make it a little bit more unreliable.
And you're talking about more like macro-oriented teams, avoid the team fights and get the objective types?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that due to a sort of weakening of CC over the course of the game, or how did that happen?
I think we've seen a lot of our globals get buffed in the last, just about a year.
That was really
first
cool.
We saw Bright Wings.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that was an awesome Divine Shield to go over that wall and get that kill done.
Yeah, I told Rev in comms there, I was like, Rev, I have D-Shield, go nuts. And he's like, all right. And then he jumps over the wall. I'm like, I didn't know if that's what I meant, but we take it,
Go nuts. It was the request.
Yeah.
So as this game has developed, you've grabbed up the Hand of Protection, the Unstoppable that's flavored for Uther with some basic attack reductions. I see a Diablo here naturally. You got a Polymorph with a Kerrigan. I don't know. Would you ever go anything else at 7?
I think all the 7s are good. The one that reduces the gives you CDR on your Q whenever you get stunned is a little bit more selfish, I think. But and the as far as Diablo CC goes, the 50 armor talent is Diablo CC, other than his Q, is relatively short, so it's sometimes hard to catch it unless you use your Q specifically for that 50 armor. So I think the cleanse is always good. There's always, like, Unstoppable is almost always useful, especially in competitive like this.
Interesting that Armor of Faith has that 20-second internal cooldown on it.
Yeah, it used to have none and just reset your cooldown a long time ago, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember those days too, and you just walk into everything you could. It was Silence Roots, yeah. So you go running into Malfurion Roots and just get silly.
Yeah, just dip your toe in the Stukov puddle for a second, and then all of a sudden you can shoot out a million Qs.
So here you guys don't necessarily have that Hogger, that extreme clear, and in fact Kerrigan's off doing a double rotate by the look of it. This is for quest completion, correct?
Yeah, we wanted her to finish. I think she already have it done, I can't remember. Yeah, she's getting close, so I think we wanted to let him stack. Plus Mephisto 13, the splash auto, is halfway decent on the shrine anyways, and there was no way they were coming back to contest down 13s with somebody dead, so we weren't too pressed about our timing there.
You were, of course, manning the bush there and making sure all was looking well. Oh, so the Divine Shield here, for the Kerrigan directly, or is it a comp decision versus the enemy side?
I think Divine Shield's just one of the best ults in the game. And unless you are really struggling for CC, you should pretty much always go Divine Shield.
Would you say the same for like a pickup game, Storm League?
Maybe not necessarily, because a lot of people will not play around the fact that you have D-Storm. And you can't always count on the randoms to get the value out of Divine Shield that you need. So D-Storm definitely not a bad pick by any means. But if you're duo queuing with a friend or something and you know they'll get value out of it, go ahead and give them the D-Shield.
How are you playing this sort of instance with the keep and all that different than a normal tank? Or are you stepping up to the same range you would normally? Uther doesn't have that slide or disengage to really get out of there.
Not usually too afraid. The only person who can really kill me there is Diablo if he like wallbangs me into his own keep. But the Frozen Punisher makes a lot of space because it puts all those things on the ground, so I don't have to be that afraid. Plus, if I die, I am Uther, so it's not like a huge deal anyways.
With that in mind, the lack of escape and the fact that the ghost would have to be in range to do something, are you positioned in that bush in the middle rather than the left side bush because it'd be too far away from your team?
Yeah, I just want to be able to get close to my team as fast as possible. Your team is actually, when you're trying to escape, it's better to run to your team most of the time than it is to like your towers, because people aren't as afraid of towers as they are generally of heroes. So
that is perhaps the biggest strategy reveal we've had on this show. And honestly, we see buildings, particularly if you come from other MOBAs, those buildings are pretty hardy. And I know in Here's the Storm, we like to get excited and think we're going to be the big defender, soloing it out with the help of a building nearby. Absolutely. So maybe more of a World of Warcraft mentality is in order.
Yeah, always run to your teammates if you're close enough.
So you got your level 1 completed here. It wasn't too big of a deal taking damage. There's all sorts of little damage like lightning rods and flames going out from
Sylvanas
Diablo.
DOT, stuff like that. It wasn't a huge deal this game. It is sometimes hard to complete it, but the alternative I would say would be like the auto attack talent if they're all like just really chunky damage and not small instances like that. But generally it's not a huge deal.
With the quest completed, you now have reduces the mana cost.
Yeah,
increased
it's down
the
to
range.
40 mana, and the entire screen is my range.
Yeah, no, we're not going to be able to see that here in the replay, but it is massive. So you grabbed up Well Met at 13. When used against heroes, Hammer of Justice reduces the target's movement speed and damage by 25% for 3 seconds.
Yeah, damage reduction talents are kind of like sleeper OP, especially, and then that one has a slow, and it's a really long slow as well. 3 seconds in a MOBA is an eternity.
Yeah,
is how it feels. So, just having somebody not be able to contribute effectively for, I mean, if you think about it, if you manage to stun a damage dealer or something, then it's effectively giving your whole team 25 armor against that person.
Well,
which on paper sounds really strong, in my opinion.
The drippies, the graphic that accompanies this is rather tame. I mean, you can barely make it out on Diablo right there.
Yeah.
Do you find that it causes some pretty good situations where they get confused, maybe miss some lifesteal and end up getting killed because of it?
I don't know how much people necessarily play around it, especially on like a Diablo or something. Like, he doesn't really care. He just wants, his goal this game is kind of just to survive. So he doesn't probably care all that much about me reducing his damage. The slow is probably more annoying for him. Another little interaction is that the damage reduction stuff like that works on things that are unstoppable. So you can damage reduce Deathwings, you can damage reduce a Spinning Hogger. Obviously he's not going to be slowed, but...
Oh, so even though you can't stun the Deathwing, you would still put on the drippies?
I could, yeah. If he was going to kill my whole team, I could still hit him with it.
Now in that situation, there was a Kerrigan who was very forward and ended up getting pushed around by Diablo. You hit them with Divine Shield at about half health instead of the Cleanse. What was the choice there?
I think I wanted to have Cleanse because I thought they were going to go on somebody else. So I wanted him to start the fight, but everybody got on different targets there, and it turned into a bit of a mess for us in comms. So...
Okay, so there's
just a little miscommunication across the board there.
Less so a planned interaction, more recovery as fast as you could.
Yeah, yeah.
And you mentioned sleeper OP with these Well Met and damage reduction talents. Blessed Champion, Spell Shield ever come up?
Oh, on the 13s? I
Yeah.
don't think those are really, I don't think they really compete too well with Well-Met. Well-Met's just really good.
It's a 15% of Holy Light just doesn't really bring home the bacon.
No, especially since you have to auto like consistently just to get like kind of like break even, I think, in terms of value.
Well, and in coordinated play like this at this league, you're not doing any autoing of the objective. You're
all my
zoning.
CDR on my cleanse and everything is like just from like smacking walls and occasionally heroes.
Yeah, not something
Getting the
you're,
autos when I can.
you're getting to do much.
No.
Level 16, of also perhaps a required level, but interested to hear if you have any thoughts on it. This is, of course, Benediction.
Yeah, Benediction, just incredibly strong. Double stun. I mean, effectively doubling your CC, assuming you don't have Divine Storm, is always just insane and keeps somebody still for 2 consecutive seconds. And then whatever else your team can throw on them, that's just somebody who's not playing the game for... with this draft, it's close to 5 seconds, if not more. So...
Now, I've heard that in high league play, Uthers have to go hide in bushes, pop Benediction so it can't be seen that it's going to happen, and then surprise the enemy with it.
Yeah, so right now I actually do have it procced, and that was a mistake on my part because I thought I was looking for stun and then they got away. So in hindsight, I should have used it earlier to get my cooldown rolling, but I was holding my spells a little bit in case they decided they did want to jump us. But
Oh, interesting. So,
like right now it's on cooldown, so
yeah. Okay, so in situations like this where you have coordinated play, people are doing the lane clear, and Uther doesn't have to go help with a Holy Radiance or anything like that.
right.
You pop this, and then it starts going on cooldown, and or does it pause when you take it until you use it?
No. I had walked up to somebody. I think it was the Diablo in mid or something, and I wanted to double stun him, but he queued a minion and escaped. So I was just walking around with it procced.
Got it.
So I should have cast a spell earlier to get the cooldown ticking. Fortunately, both teams we're at that point where there's nothing to do on the map other than this camp, but we don't want to fight them on this camp, so we just kind of stand here, and if they show up, we're kind of just looking for intel at this point with the stealth and everything like that from the Brightwing.
Yeah, level 20 Brightwing causing that big upset here, and I've heard plenty of talk about it, particularly from Storm Division players, just how much it affects the game in the late game, and
Yeah, it is really annoying.
yeah, how frustrating that can be. Okay, so Benediction does not start ticking until you've used it. So there you're mentioning just should have thrown out a random spell, gotten it going on cooldown so you could have it that much sooner again.
Right.
Perfect. Is there any choice otherwise at 20? Redemption being your resurrect talent of sorts.
Yeah, they're all really good.
Oh,
I
perfect.
think all his 20s are very powerful.
It's almost
Redemption this game, I had just died in the fight before, which the only time I think you shouldn't go Redemption is if the other team just refuses to kill you ever. But they seemed pretty willing to kill me in that last fight, so I did not have any regrets about picking Redemption there.
But wouldn't they see Redemption and then not kill you now? That's the puzzle I get stuck on.
Yeah, they might, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that I could walk into if I really wanted to. Plus, if I'm in the middle of their team, just smacking them around, stunning stuff, they're gonna kill me eventually, you know?
Just by proxy in the first place.
Yeah.
So is that kind of your goal, is to even just absorb as much as you can before you go down and then sort of take that for the team?
Yeah, I was definitely not afraid to walk right into that shrine there if they had to. But they took the fight in the lane, which I think was probably a mistake from them because that's what we want. We want to fight in the open spaces against the fall stat and stuff like that. We don't want to get wind tunneled into a corner and then APOC'd and then just all die. We want to fight in the open space of the lane there.
Oh, interesting, yeah, because you got the Kerrigan, you got the Mephisto, but I can see why the Diablo and the Falstad would cause it to be in favor of them.
Yeah, we're not too bad in the like the choke points like that with the Mephisto in particular. He kind of destroys in there, but Theirs is just better, so we have to respect it.
Why not charge down the middle there? Was it because they kind of had the core comp, Diablo, Brightwing, Sylvanas, they could still make a decent defense?
Yeah, we thought that the ending against a ranged hero is usually pretty difficult, and our core damage isn't super fantastic. We probably could have done it, but it would have been a little risky, especially for this being a Frozen Punisher, which kind of guarantees it goes to core anyways there at this point in the game, because the Frozen Punisher is pretty OP.
Oh, I like that. I like that simple rule about the ranged hero on defense. That makes a lot of sense, particularly when the core abilities came into the game.
Yeah, ending against double ranged is, if there's 2 ranged up, is incredibly difficult, and unless it's literally 5v2, it's always going to be a rough go.
Let's take a look at some of your numbers here before we end. We got a pretty decent damage number compared to someone like Brightwing these days. Healing number was considerably... Actually, the two of you together make a Brightwing number. As interesting as that is. But probably on a tank Uther, you're not going to the end and saying, how are my numbers?
No, I don't think I even looked at the stat screen this game, to be honest with you.
That's fair.
It wasn't the forefront of my mind.
Got a lot of other jobs to do. Well, if people saw this and they said, hey, that looks like fun. I want to right-click things. I don't want to aim abilities like I have to on so many tanks these days. What would you suggest someone does to become a good tank Uther?
Stand in bushes all the time. And just remember which... just think about the other tanks that exist that kind of punish tank Uther. So I think in this draft in particular, we even banned Garrosh. Uther struggles really hard when he gets displaced from his team. So Garrosh just throwing him in is about the least amount of fun that Uther could have as a tank.
Ooh, yeah, okay. I can imagine. Anything else though? I mean, just Garrosh? That's pretty good.
Anti-healing, pretty annoying as well, but the armor kind of helps a little bit. And I would not advise picking Uther to be both the tank and the support.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice. Well, thank you for joining me for this. I love playing Uther. I'm happy to see him still participating, and I look forward to playing some myself. Good luck to you guys in the continuation of the Storm Division. And everyone watching at home, be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell here at Heroes Hearth for more Learn to Play Heroes of the Storm action. And of course, that upcoming Season 3 of the CCL.